a city built on steel, sweat, and salt air, hides more than just industry behind its skyline. In the quiet of the coastal nights, whispers of extortion, fear, and power echoes through the town. At the center of it all stood one man, Nkululeko Mkhize, a businessman with charm on his face and blood on his hands. To some, he was a hustler who made it against all odds. To others, a predator. But KwaZulu-Natal, everyone knew one thing. You don't cross Mkhize. The rise of a ruthless dreamer. Mkhize began small. His first job was working at the petrol station. But he had much greater ambitions. He later moved to the taxi industry. As his influence grew, so did his appetite for power. His greed had no limits. By 2023, he was no longer just a businessman. He was the boss. It is about this time Nkululeko attended a cultural ceremony and got the media buzzing when he threw 1.5 million in an indishi. He gave generously to those he was closest to, but the streets knew him as the man who controlled Richards Bay through fear and intimidation. Taxi operators, street vendors, and small shop owners paid him a weekly protection fee. It wasn't a request, it was a demand sealed by violence. The extortion web. Mkhize's syndicate stretched far beyond the dusty taxi ranks. He and his men infiltrated large corporations, Richards Bay Minerals and Transnet among them. Contracts were manipulated, money changed hands, and those who refused to cooperate faced ruin. Or worse, the construction mafia had found its leader. His name was whispered in boardrooms as often as in the backstreets. The deadly voice note message. Behind the glamorous facade, another empire was growing. One built not on tenders, but on extortion. It started small, taxi owners, then small delivery businesses, Uber Eats, Mr. D, Take-A-Lot drivers. Each was told they had to pay a monthly protection fee of 100 Rand. Refusal meant trouble. One day a voice note circulated among drivers. Every Uber Eats, Mr. D, Take-A-Lot in Richards Bay must pay. If you have a problem, come see me yourself. The message was cold, calm, and final. No one dared challenge it. By now, Mkhize had money, men, and guns. His enforcers were loyal and well-paid. His confidence grew into recklessness, and his greed into obsession. Blood on the streets. The more power he gained, the darker his empire became. Whispers of a drug operation began to surface. Cocaine and crystal meth moving through the ports and townships. Then came the shooting. 5 men were gunned down in a drive-by near a car wash. It's alleged that the shooting was over drug territory. The police traced the vehicle used in the attack. All roads led back to one name, Nkululeko Mkhize. The police tip-off was clear. A war on territory had erupted over control of the drug trade, and Mkhize was right in the center. Money and mayhem. With fear fueling his empire, Mkhize lived like royalty. He drove luxury cars, wore designer clothes, and posted videos flashing stacks of cash. On social media, he was a symbol of success, a Zulu man who had made it. But behind every post was pain, families ruined, lives lost, and a city drowning in fear. On the police's radar, by mid-2023, Mkhize had attracted the attention of the police. Not just local detectives, but the National Intervention Unit. They knew he was behind multiple murders, racketeering, and extortion. But witnesses were too scared to testify. Police most wanted. The raid was planned in secrecy. The National Intervention Unit prepared for weeks, tracking Mkhize's movements between his luxury homes in Richards Bay and Zimbali Estate near Ballito. Inside his mansion, Mkhize believed he was untouchable. But even kings fall when their time runs out. The last stand. It was early morning in September 2023. The police moved in silently, surrounding the property. Mkhize and his men were armed, 6 guns, over 1,000 rounds of ammunition. When the officers shouted for him to surrender, Mkhize answered with bullets. The luxury estate erupted into chaos. Firefight and fate. The shootout lasted minutes that felt like hours. Gunfire echoed through Zimbali's manicured lawns as the empire Mkhize built with fear came crashing down. When the smoke cleared, Mkhize and one accomplice lay dead. The man who ruled Richards Bay underworld was finally silenced. The aftermath. Police recovered 6 firearms, hundreds of rounds and cash hidden in safes. Neighbors stood in disbelief. The man they saw driving supercars was the same one wanted for murder, extortion, and terror. KwaZulu-Natal's most feared kingpin was gone, but his shadow lingered. The funeral of a Don. The funeral drew crowds, friends, enemies, and those who once feared him. Expensive cars lined the streets. Mourners wore black and gold. A send-off appropriate for an underworld king. In the weeks that followed, victims came forward. Taxi owners spoke openly. Vendors shared their stories. Families told how they lived in constant fear of Mkizi's men collecting fees. One woman said, "We paid for peace, not because we wanted to, but because we had to." The empire without a king. With Mkizi gone, his network fractured. Lieutenants fought over money and control. Rival gangs moved in. What was once an organized empire dissolved into chaos. Smaller, more violent, and unpredictable. The police under fire. Despite Mkizi's death, critics questioned the police's actions. Was the shootout justified? Could he have been arrested alive? Community leaders called for transparency, while others celebrated his death as justice long overdue. The truth lay somewhere in between, blurred by years of violence and silence. The end of the beginning. Nkululeko Mkizi's story ended in a pool of blood at Zimbali Estate. But the system that made him thrive still. He was a symptom, not the disease, a reflection of power, greed, and survival in a place where justice often arrives too late. In the dark corners of Richards Bay, one lesson remains. When money and violence rule, peace becomes the rarest currency of all. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, and leave a comment.